So I'm going to give a little bit of a chat about the Culinary Crescendo. Now, you've seen us do a ton of videos off of our Facebook, our own personal Facebooks, and we decided that we should come up with something fun, something really interesting, a name that kind of merges our passions together, and that is music and food. And you associate culinary with food and crescendo with music. So the crescendo is a musical term that we have in our profession that we use for the swell of sound that comes. It grows in sound. So we like to think that our culinary adventures grow and swell and show our fullest potential as Epicureans and opera singer. So we're gonna get started today, and we decided that our first food item on our list for our first live experience for our followers and fans is going to be a beef Wellington. Thank you, Nicole, for giving us this wonderful suggestion. We asked a lot of our followers about it, and they gave us some great suggestions, and we decided to go with beef Wellington in a unique, new, and really fun way. Something that you can probably do yourselves. And this is going to be a deconstructed beef Wellington. So we'll get to that in a moment, and Ian will be talking to us about it, its origin, and also how he prepares it. And I wanted to start first with our Baka Zin tonight. So this Baka Zin, it's from the Pokai Vineyard, which is a lovely vineyard in St. Helena. It's bottled in St. Helena, and I first discovered this one when I was visiting Hall Vineyards in Napa Valley, and what a beautiful place, what a wonderful vineyard that we decided to just fall in love with all their wines. So we got this Zin from them, and we're gonna open it and we're gonna try it out for you and see what we think. So this is our kitchen as well, where all the magic happens. And we do a lot of cooking here. It's a hot one here today. We're in Chicago, Illinois, so it is hot in our kitchen, as you may see. So get ready. All right, he's pouring it for us. Now, you've seen a lot of our pictures on Instagram and on Facebook. A lot of these are really inspired dinners that we have together, and we like to show our friends, family, fans, followers. And there's some music involved too that I share on a daily basis about what I sing and how I prepare music and opera, and getting into those specifics and how I spend my day. So we're gonna have Mr. Ian Del Castillo. This is my other half of Culinary Crescendo.
Hello everybody, a little sweaty, got the bandana on. I think we're ready to go here.
Yeah. So let's cheers.
Cheers.
Let's begin our deconstructed beef Wellington and enjoy. Take it away.
So, beef Wellington. You've seen it on TV. Gordon Ramsay kind of made it a thing in his shows, and it really is. It's traditionally a French. It started out as a French dish, meat en croûte, meaning meat wrapped in a pastry or a bread product of some sort, and then popularized in England by the Duke of Wellington. And however, they did, having strife with the French, did not want to call it by its classic French name, or like a meat en croûte, so they went with beef Wellington. And the basics for any beef Wellington always include puff pastry, a mushroom duxelle, prosciutto di Parma, and of course a fillet of beef. So it can be rather challenging to do the classic where you wrap it up in the puff pastry, bake it off, and make sure that the cook temperature on the meat stays stays good. That's why you tend to see it at nicer restaurants and steakhouses. But I'm going to show you a deconstructed version of it, giving you all the layers without any of the hassle of trying to do the classic version. So with that, I think we get going. Yeah.
All right. So here begins our first Culinary Crescendo Instagram, Facebook Live demo, Deconstructed Beef Wellington. And I will be checking questions for you guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will be monitoring it, so we'll get that going. And if anyone wants to say hi or say hello, we're here too. So anybody want to share what they did today, go right ahead. We're right here. So, all right.
So, as I mentioned, the main components, puff pastry, prosciutto, filet of beef, mushroom duxelle. So we're going to start with the two components that we are going to bake. Our puff pastry, which is just a store-bought sheet that I've slacked out and defrosted, as well as some prosciutto di Parma, which I'll pull out of the fridge, along with our filet of beef. So there you have it. There's a couple of nice slices of the prosciutto di Parma, and then our two nice 5-ounce center cut fillets. That will be good, that we can bring it up to room temperature before we actually go to cooking. So with the puff pastry, it usually comes folded. You do have to defrost it. I like to just smooth it out a bit with a rolling pin before we get started, like that. And then we're going to cut a couple of different shapes, mainly to create those layers when we compose the final item. So I'm just going to cut it in half first. Good. And once again, we'll try and get some nice squares or rough rectangles that will serve as the base, and then we'll make some nice triangles as a topper. So it's pretty square there. So I'm going to throw it onto my baking sheet here, which is lined with a silpat. That will help me to make sure nothing sticks. I've already got the oven preheated to 400 degrees, which will be a perfect temperature to both bake off these puff pastry layers, as well as toast up our prosciutto, which we are going to create a nice crisp out of, giving us a different element. And classically in beef Wellington, you'll see the prosciutto wrapped around the fillet, which is then, or being inside, which is then, you don't get it to be very crispy at all. So I find this to be a nice technique that allows a different texture. So there again, I have my shapes here, the square bases, then a couple of triangles. See which one turns out nicest, and we'll use those as a topper. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and lay out my thin sliced prosciutto di Parma on my silpat as well. These are very thin, and it's nice when you do buy your prosciutto, if you're not getting it sliced by actual deli, buy the ones that have these little sheet separators. Definitely makes it easier to spread apart. And so there you have it. Next thing, whenever working with puff pastry, you bake it without any topping of sort or any wash of some sort. And I'm going to use just a standard egg wash. It will bake very pale. So I'm going to go ahead and brush this off with a little bit of egg wash. It's just a whole egg that's been blended together. And this will give us that nice golden brown sheen.
Alright guys, I'm going to flip the camera here so it gets a little easier. Just bear with me. One sec.
So in addition to egg washing, I'm also going to put a little score on the tops of the triangle pieces, which again I'll use as a top, and that will just give us a nice little design when it bakes off. As you know, puff pastry will puff up as it cooks, and that's because of all the layered butter in this dough. We won't need to score the bottom pieces since we're going to be layering on top, so any shape's going to get masked anyways. Okay, so there you have it. We've got the prosciutto ready to toast off and get nice and crispy. Hopefully it doesn't disintegrate because it looks pretty thin. We got our bottom slices of the puff pastry and our top triangle scored.
Great.
So into a 400-degree oven, and then I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes, and that should be good to go. So while that's happening, I'm going to get started on our mushroom duxelle. And mushroom duxelle, what's that? Well, it is very finely minced mushroom that is cooked down to basically a paste. We put a little aromatic in it as well, in the form of garlic and shallot. We'll add in some thyme and a little bit of butter. But you'll see here I got about a pound of button mushrooms that I just put in my food processor, ground it down. You can of course do this by hand, just mincing it very finely, but obviously easier in the food processor. And you want it really ground down, but when using your food processor, being careful not to overwork it where it becomes too mushy. So, a little oil in the pan, and then we'll go with a little bit of shallot. About a couple teaspoons, and a little bit of garlic, chopped garlic. And we'll let these start to soften and saute before we add in our mushrooms. And the goal of when making a mushroom duxelle is to get all of the liquid out of the mushrooms. So, believe it or not, mushrooms have quite a bit of moisture in them, and when you cook them, the moisture evaporates. So, sizzling gently. We'll be careful and we'll keep moving this around. We don't want really any coloration on the garlic or shallot because garlic can certainly burn, which will give us a bitter off taste, which we don't want. Okay. Let that go.
Sorry guys, I've been moving you around a lot. I'm just getting it all configured around here because we have a tripod, we have tons of things.
So these aromatics, this garlic and shallot, will start to sweat, they'll soften, they'll become translucent. And you can really let your nose be the guide here to let you know, okay, we're getting pretty far into the sauteing part of the cooking. While that's happening, I'm just going to pick some thyme leaves off the stem. Okay. So the garlic and shallot is nice and sauteed. I'm going to go ahead and add in our mushroom now, our finely diced mushroom. Again, I used a food processor. I've got the flame on medium-high heat. And I'm going to let this cook for quite a while. Again, the goal being to get the moisture out of the mushrooms, because we want a nice, dryish paste. That will take a bit of time to do so, but that's okay. It'll give me time to pick my time.
We're all about the puns here.
Oh,
just
yeah.
to let you know.
No shortage of puns. You can also add in a little white wine as well if you like, a little white wine, and then utilize that. So I got my thyme leaves here. Some of the tender stems I'm just going to keep in, and we'll just give it a rough tight chop. Okay. And that's ready to go in as well. About a teaspoon of thyme. So we'll let this cook. And as you probably noticed, I have not added any salt to this quite yet. That will do once the mushrooms have cooked down and we're ready to season. So another variation to this Wellington that we'll be going with is our duxelle. I'm actually going to turn into a mousse. I'm going to add in a little bit of sour cream to kind of lighten it a bit, since it'll be a very much exposed layer to the dish. So it'll also hold together a little better as well. But you can take a look here in the pan. You can see the moisture seeping to the top and then evaporating. That's exactly what we want to get rid of all that moisture. The mushrooms will intensify in flavor and also darken in color. And you'll see we started with a full pound of mushrooms, but as the moisture wicks away, it will cook down to much less, and again, intensify in flavor.
We had a quick question here.
Yes.
What kind of mushrooms did you use again?
I just used the nice standard baby portobello. You could use a white mushroom or white button mushroom, baby portobello, or cremini as it's also called. You could really use anything you like. Shiitakes might be a little strong. If you can get your hands on some morels, that's very nice and very elegant to utilize. But any mushroom will do, really. Yeah, button mushroom, portobello, cremini, oyster mushroom, or a combination of would also be very nice. So, still cooking down, still reducing.
I just wanted to point out that we have for the people who are just joining us, we are drinking a Baka Zin. It's a red Zin, delicious Zinfandel from the Hall Vineyards in Napa Valley that we visited a couple times when we were in California, and it's become some of our most favorite wines. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's delicious. It works well with the dish, I would say, too.
Absolutely. We got a nice rich beef dish in the Deconstructed beef Wellington. So it should fit nicely. Ooh, that's good. So again, moisture is reducing. I got my garlic, I got my shallot, I got thyme. We got about a pound of cremini or baby portobellos in there. Good to go.
A mixture of mushrooms would work, yeah?
Absolutely. It would just give you additional depth of flavor by varying your mushrooms. So again, in a classic Classic beef Wellington, you know, you have your seared fillet or your seared roast. It's typically brushed with Dijon mustard or, you know, whatever else you want to use, whole ground. And then you wrap that with the prosciutto, and then the prosciutto gets surrounded by the mushroom duxelle. Real classically, you would also add in a pate or a force meat of some sort. Typically, you know, on the royal scale, it would be like a nice foie gras pate. And then all of that would then be wrapped in the puff pastry and baked. So really quite decadent. And we're gonna make ours as close as possible. We don't have any foie gras, but we're gonna add a little truffle oil to our mushroom duxelle turned mushroom mousse. Again, for an additional rich flavor. I'm also gonna, Wellingtons are also served typically with a nice brown gravy. And for us, we're gonna go with a nice green peppercorn sauce, pan sauce. Because I happen to have some nice green peppercorns that we got on Amazon. So good to go there. We'll use the juices from our seared fillet to make a nice pan sauce to finish. In addition, Wellington's typically served with, you know, say a roasted potato, mashed potato, whipped potato, all sorts of starch with vegetables, roasted carrots and whatnot. We're gonna go with a nice pureed kale, or creamed pureed kale. It will be the base for our dish. And it'll be real nice. You know, it's summertime, so we won't need as much with that heavy carb, but a nice green pureed kale will act as a good base to our deconstructed Wellington. Okay, so you can see now the mushrooms are continuing to cook, and again, really just giving off all that liquid, and you see the volume is also dropped. Again, that's because the moisture has been leached out of the mushroom and is evaporated. So all we're left with is this real intense mushroom flavor.
Who doesn't love mushroom flavor, right?
Every so often, I'm going to step off of the camera, towel off my face.
It is sweaty
little toasty in here.
Just letting you know that it is quite sweaty or hot. I mean, today is like 90. Well, it's 90 degrees right now outside, and it's very humid. It's like the Florida humid that you get in the summertime.
Right.
So we live in an old kind of Chicago brownstone sort of like flat, like that they had back in the 1920s, and we have in window air units, so it doesn't circulate as good as central air. So in the summertime, we usually just deal with it and
yeah, just gotta suck it up. Eat more salads.
Eat more salads. Take more really cold ice showers and drink a ton of water. So winter is nice because it stays nice and warm and toasty in here. So
That's right.
Sometimes I do like winter more than summer. I don't know why.
Okay. So good indicator that your duxelle is pretty much given off all the liquid that it can. Once you level it out after stirring, you see that no more liquid is bubbling up to the surface anymore. That's pretty much a good clue to you that we're all done here. And that's it. That's a typical mushroom duxelle. Again, I omitted wine, which also is fairly classic in duxelle, but we're opting out of it. So at this point now, I'm going to go ahead and season with a bit of kosher salt and some fresh cracked pepper. Okay. And to this, again, we'll add in a little bit of sour cream to lighten it up a bit, and a little bit of truffle oil for that nice fragrant, earthy aroma, and we'll have a nice mushroom mousse as a layer to our deconstructed Wellington. So you see there, again, very much like I don't know what you would call that, Play-Doh. You know, it's not. There's no more moisture. It's all evaporated. So again, all you're left with is a real intense mushroom flavor.
Okay, we have a question from, are the wines purchasable here or do you have to order them through the California winery online?
I think Benny's carries some of the hall labels.
I do believe so, yes.
I'm not sure which.
So, I'm just going to show everybody again. This is the Baca Zin that we got at the Hall Vineyards in Napa, and this I might be just exclusive to them. I don't know. I know they sell Hall at Benny's or other wine stores, but we tend to like to go to the vineyard because you get to try all their like private things that you want to find out about. So they really do have a wonderful wine, and it's a beautiful facility too. It's very modern and just sitting along the cliffs, along the hills, along the vineyards. So it's just very beautiful.
Okay, a little oil in the pan because we're going to get our cream kale going in a second. But you see here I've added in about a tablespoon of sour cream to our mushroom duxelle. So again, it's just lighten it a bit. I'm going to add probably just a touch more, just to make it a bit lighter on the palate. And then to it, again, we'll add in a little bit of black truffle oil. Not too much. Just a little drizzle will do. This stuff goes quite a long way, and we don't want it to really overpower or kill the other flavors. Okay. So this would make for a tremendous, say, ravioli filling. You could stuff this into pork chops, chicken, anything you could think of, really. Okay. My watch is telling me that our timer is pretty much up on the puff pastry as well as the prosciutto crisps.
Oh boy.
So we're looking pretty good here. Just throw that on top there. So we've got our nice toasted puff pastry, or baked puff pastry, and then our crisp prosciutto ready to go. So those are a couple of our layers. We can set that to the side in a moment. Alright, mushroom
I'm sure you guys all see it.
Also done. So we're coming together here. We're getting good here. I'm going to go ahead and start our Kale Puree. So again, a little bit more shallot and garlic. About a tablespoon to 2 teaspoons. Let this saute. Again, letting my nose be the guide, so it's very fragrant now. As the scent starts to mellow out, we will we'll know we're good to go. At this point, I'm also going to season the beef. So again, we've got about 2 5-ounce fillets, nice thick cut fillet. Give it some nice kosher salt. Season fairly aggressively here. Okay. I like to omit the pepper because I find that when I sear meats, the pepper can burn. Alrighty.
Hey guys, just a quick reminder, if you guys have any questions about our Deconstructed Beef Wellington, feel free to type it in the Instagram comment or Facebook comments and we'll get to it. Or if you just want to say hi, please let us know. We would love to see you. And I see a couple of our friends and followers here, and also our suggestion winner,
Yeah.
Nicole and Stephanie are here.
All right.
And
thanks for the idea, guys.
yeah, thank you.
Great one. So you see there, my shallot and garlic has been toasted off. I went ahead and added in the kale now. Kale, unlike say spinach, will cook down but will not wilt as hard as spinach does. It's got a bit more fiber to it. I'm going to add in a little bit of seasoning here, so a little kosher salt, a little fresh cracked pepper, and then we'll give it a little chili flake as well, or a little bit just to wake you up a little bit. Not too much. Yeah, that's good. So we'll let this cook down and saute till softened. And then to this, we're going to add in a little bit of half and half, a little cream. And then throw everything into the blender. And then get it pureed to almost a sauce-like consistency, kind of thick. You know, we'll go easy on the cream to start out, just enough cream so that it'll start to puree. But we don't want it to turn into soup, so we'll add in the half and half very gradually. One thing to note as well, I used a nice bagged triple washed kale, which is supposed to be removed of all the stems, but it is worth going through and picking it out once again to see if there are any additional stems, because those can be rather fibrous and tough. Okay, so kale's looking good, nice and sauteed down and tender. I'm gonna bring my blender into the mix now.
Oh boy. Yes, Stephanie, winner, winner, deconstructed beef Wellington dinner.
That's right.
Oh, my phone got hot. Oh no, my phone got hot. On Instagram. Oh shoot. Or on Facebook. Okay, we're gonna have to. Hold up, everybody. My phone just said it got really hot and it had an emergency. Wow, that was really weird.
Okay, kale's cooked down. We're gonna go ahead and move it over to the blender now.
That's so funny. I've never had that happen before.
To this, I'm going to add in a little bit of Parmesan, a little grated Parmesan Reggiano, a couple tablespoons. And then again, as I mentioned, a little bit of half and half. You can also use whole milk or heavy cream. So just enough to get it started. And we'll send this for a blitz. You'll want to halt and make sure it's mixing up nicely. I think that will be plenty on the cream side. Okay. Okay. So we got a nice chopped kale, creamed kale, let's say. So back into the pan with everything. Creamed spinach will also work nicely here, or Swiss chard, or whatever else you might have, any other green that you might like to utilize. So, there you have that nice creamed kale, very tender now, no tough chew that's typically hallmark to kale that you normally eat. Okay. I'll throw this into the oven to hold. So we'll go to the blender here. I'm going to scoop my baked items away. And next, it'll be time to address the beef. So I've got my cast iron here. I'm going to get the flame on high. I want this thing ripping hot. Then beef's been seasoned. It's come to room temperature because we've had it out for quite a while. About half hour or so. This is a good break point. You know, we'll take a break here and think about finishing up the dish here. All we have left to do really is to sear the fillets, place them to the side to rest for a bit while we finish the pan sauce, and then we're into finishing, into plating, I should say.
Yes.
So it's also important to give things a taste. Nice truffly mushroom taste there. So, cooking steaks or searing steaks. I always prefer a nice thicker steak. You tend to have more forgiveness when cooking steak. Meaning you have the ability to, you know,
Oops,
you don't
sorry.
have to worry about it.
I had the ring light in the way.
Oh.
We had a technical difficulty with my phone that got overheated. And it said emergency, emergency.
Yeah, threw it in the freezer.
So it said emergency, emergency, and it literally locked my phone. So I had to switch to the laptop. So the ring light is now out of the way, everybody. Sorry. Okay.
Steak cookery, that's what I say. You know, buy it thicker. Get it to 1.5 to 2 inches thick, preferably. Again, more forgiveness. And we're going to cook it real hard on both sides. And again, the key to a good or well-cooked steak, of course, is that full rest time. We want to be able to allow the juices that, when heat has been applied to the fibers of the meat, the juices are trying to run out. And the resting period allows the juices to come back into the fibers and maintain the tenderness. So hang in there, guys. We're going to just allow our cast iron to get nice and hot, hot, hot. So another point worth noting, if you want to take a look at our Parmesan crisps, it was a little bit pliable when I pulled it out of the oven, but now you see it's real glass and crisp, so it'll be a wonderful visual layer as well as texturally, and then give us a nice kick of salty, cured meat flavor. Which I find to be more appealing than when it's inside the Wellington, and again, it just it has no texture.
All right, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. We're back now that we had that crazy. My phone is alive. I just want to tell everybody. So part of Culinary Crescendo is to, during this time, we've been in quarantine for quite some time at home here in Chicago and, of course, across the United States. It's been like 4 months now. Crazy, right? And we are in the music and catering culinary industry, Ian being a part of a catering company downtown in the West Loop of Chicago, and me, a freelance opera singer based in Chicago. And we see, these two industries have been probably the hardest hit industries in our country. And for the foreseeable future, it's a hard outlook for us. We don't know when people will feel comfortable coming to events, coming to restaurants, coming to anything basically, and performances as well. If we're going to get into that, we're going to talk about a lot of opera companies canceling their seasons until next year. So we want to bring things to you. We want to bring it to you from the safety of our home, and we want to bring you what we enjoy doing every day, and this is our passion. This is what we love to do. So I hope you join us along our journey, and stay tuned and follow us on our Facebook at Culinary Crescendo, and then also at our Instagram at Culinary Crescendo, and we'll see you there. So yes.
Okay, so you can see as well now, pan is smoking. I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of oil. I'm also going to pull the pan off of the flame just to prevent in case there's any serious flare-ups. I will actually also cool the temperature of the pan, and once we get back to that smoke point, we can drop our fillets in. So before I do so, I'm going to take a paper towel and just lightly press out any of that surface moisture on the steak. You know, surface or moisture is the enemy of, you know, nice browning on the beef or any meat for that matter. So a nice little press of that would be good. Season once again, and then into the pan. Season once again and into the pan. So we will allow this to cook nicely and allow a nice crust to develop. I did not add as much oil to the pan because I will be adding in a little knob of butter, and we'll get a little baste on it as well. You see, I really want to get that high, hard sear on the beef, so I am moving it to different spots on the surface of the cooking pan. Because as it moves in different spots in the pan, that lowers the temperature of that particular spot. So again, moving it around will allow us to maintain that high heat sear.
Yes, the cut of meat is the fillet.
Yes, indeed. That's fillet of beef tenderloin. Just a couple of minutes on each side should do it. So a nice rare to medium rare. And with regard to fillet of beef, it's a cut that is definitely better enjoyed on that rare to medium rare side. And then little quarter turns every so often, and finding a new hot spot on the grill, or on the cast iron pan, I should say. So you see we got a really beautiful hard seared crust. All that Maillard reaction, that browning, so that's good to go. We can give that a nice flip. Again, because we have such a thick cut, that gives us the freedom to allow us to sear very hard on each side. Again, it takes a while for that heat to reach the center, so it'll give us that really wonderful hard crust without overcooking.
We have a question. Would you move the meat around if you were grilling?
That is a different story. On the grill, particularly if you're targeting to try and get grill marks, you definitely want to leave it there, throw it on the grill, and leave it on, and actually let the grill tell you when to move it. you'll notice when you're working with any meat, beef, chicken, fish, pork, whatever it might be, on a hot grill, a clean grill, mind you, it's not time to move that particular protein until it actually naturally releases on its own. So that's a good indicator for you when you're cooking. Again, having a nice thicker cut of the protein will give you that added security from overcooking. But when utilizing a nice clean oiled grate and a good nice dry protein, meaning no surface moisture, the product will naturally release from the grill when the sear has been achieved. So it's starting to smell pretty good in here. And we're on our way to plating. So the bottom now you see has also got that nice sear. At this point, that's probably about 2/3 done on that side. I'm going to add in a nice knob of butter and the remainder of our thyme. And we'll get a nice baste in. So this type of technique has gone quite viral, I find.
Yes, it has.
So a nice little knob of butter again, and our fresh thyme. We should be in good shape here. Okay, nice sear, time to come off. And we're gonna let this rest while we build our sauce. We're also going to get some of the fat out of the pan, back onto the meat. And we'll lower the flame. Again, a lot of residual heat here. And go directly in with some shallots. Let those cook down a bit. So we're now building our creamy au poivre sauce, or pepper sauce. We're going to use nice green peppercorns as well as classic, or traditional, I should say, black peppercorn. So this shallot will saute very quickly. And then we're going to deglaze with a little bit of beef stock that I've got simmering here in the background. So just a touch. Okay. Very good. Maybe a little bit more. And then to this, I'm going to add in our green peppercorns. That's pretty good, about a good teaspoon's worth. And allow this mixture to cook and reduce and intensify in flavor. A few nice big grinds of black peppercorn as well. So this will be a nice spicy hot sauce. Good counterpoint to our creamed kale, our mushroom mousse d'oxel, and our buttery puff pastry. So again, reducing quite a bit. I'm going to reduce this almost all the way down to dry because I'm going to finish it with a bit of half and half. And just a pinch of salt. I've picked up any of the brown bits from searing the steak as well. So that should be nice. And then we can start thinking about plating.
Oh boy.
So again, pretty much all the way dry. Looking pretty good there. And let's go ahead and add in a bit of half and half. And you can actually lower the flame quite a bit as well. Swirl it around, let those flavors incorporate. Very good. I'm going to add in a couple dashes of Worcestershire sauce as well, just for additional round flavor. Okay. That's it. That's an easy peppercorn pan sauce. Again, our temperature is lower. We don't want the sauce to break, meaning the solids to separate. That should be pretty good. And then we'll let that simmer, let it reduce, and move on to plating.
So everybody who's joining, we're making a deconstructed beef Wellington. Hello, whoever just joined us today. We are doing a wonderful dish that is a very specialty kind of dish.
It's definitely a special occasion item, and because of the typically the premium products that you'll utilize. It's good, nice and hot.
Anybody have any questions, feel free to ask now, because we're gonna start plating it, and this takes some really a lot of attention to detail. So anybody who wants to ask any questions about the process or the meat or the actual sauce, everything.
Yeah. One note I will do now, I'm gonna do what's called mounting, or I'm gonna mount it with a little butter. So I put in a nice little chunk of butter here, and I'm going to slowly allow it to melt and incorporate, and it will enrich, of course, and then thicken our sauce as well. Once this is fully emulsified in, I'll cut off the heat and just allow it to sit until we're ready to use it. Again, because of all of the nice green peppercorns, the fresh cracked black pepper, and the Worcestershire, this little added bit of butter will give us a bit more lusciousness, a little bit more richness, and also tone down some of the heat of it. Again, mounting with butter or monte au beurre, as is with the classic French technique. So you see they're quite a bit thicker now that it's been mounted with the butter. And I'm pretty much only on the lowest flame I have, utilizing the residual heat from the pan from the searing stage. That's it. I'm going to turn the flame off now. We only have a tiny little nub of butter left. And we've got a nice thick creamy sauce here. Okay, very good. That's it. So, let's go to plating.
All right.
So we've got our nice duxelle. And we're going to start with our kale. Okay. So while in the oven, it's reduced a bit. I'm going to add a little cream to loosen it back up. There's the residual heat there. A little more cream. Okay, looks good. So a nice kale puree here, creamed kale. So we'll start with a nice round of it right there.
So Instagram is telling us we have 138 remaining.
Okay, we're gonna move fast.
We're gonna go fast. So this is gonna be speed up Instagram Live.
So, kale base. With our nice puff pastry bottom. We'll now add in our fillet of beef. Beautiful. Top with our Parma ham. Shuto de Parma. Nice knob of our mushroom mousse, truffle mushroom mousse. And then our tops.
Beautiful.
That's good. And then of course, we'll finish with our pan sauce. Just along the front here.
This is like the chopped version of Instagram Live. Because Instagram's like, we have 14 seconds remaining. All
There you
right.
have it. Deconstructed beef Wellington.
All right, guys, thank you. And stay tuned. It will be on our Instagram page.